Ah, so boring. You're so boring, Mike.
Yeah, I
Why don't you
know.
why
I
don't you add a
know.
little excitement to your life?
It's early. It's still early. Rob, explain to him what it is with older people. We don't wake up at wee hours of the morning like this kid does.
Well, today I wake up early because my wife gets up before the crack of dawn. But then I take a nap at like 8:30 for a half hour.
That's not a bad idea.
Yeah, yeah, it works for me. And here in Wisconsin, central Wisconsin, now there's a promotion going on where if you take a nap for 1 hour a day, they will pay you $50 for every nap you take, but you have to do it for 30 days in a row. It's
I could do that.
the
Is
nap
that
study. So
I'm
fifteen
pretty
hundred bucks in a month just to take a nap every day.
I feel like that's really just your wife trying to get rid of you for a day and she's willing to pay you $50 a day to leave her alone for a half hour.
I can't be bought. She knows that.
I could be bought for
Mm.
that.
She no, she I cannot be bought, and I can be begged though.
I'll
You
tell you
see,
what, I've done a lot worse for $50.
If I can imagine, and actually, I'd like to hear some of those.
Oh, there
I'm
you
not
gotta
sure I would.
yeah, you gotta join at least the Patreon to be able to hear all those stories, Rob.
Oh no, well, I'm
I was
screwed
gonna
then.
say my OnlyFans channel, but that's a joke that would go right over your head.
Please do
All
say
right, well,
more.
let's get going. Come on, Rob. Let's be super serial now. How does
Hey,
that
I
sound?
did
Sounds
All
look.
like
right.
fun, right?
Yeah, I did look over this, and I even printed it out. But you can see it comes out in more than one page, and I have to hold it like. Let's see, where's the camera here? One on top of the other to try to figure out. And then it didn't go to the end, the last match. That probably would have been two more sheets of paper, I'd imagine.
You're talking about the Whirlpool Masters
Yeah,
bracket, I'm
yeah.
assuming.
So I did review all the matches, and I do have a couple comments about it that I thought some things stood out to me. Slapped me in the
Well,
face.
go ahead, start us out. Let's hear it.
Well, there was, I kind of circled real quick what I thought would be, the best matches to watch, and certainly the both semifinal matches, with the scores being 7-6 each, were probably very exciting. But then there was a couple others that kind of struck me, like, boy, how did that happen? Not to mention the finals, but the match between Fayan and Kachi, 7-0 in that.
Yeah, Kachi didn't give him any room to breathe in that match.
Okay, so you can tell me about that. I'm going to act like a fan who hasn't seen it because that's exactly what I am.
Well, I mean, Kachi was my pick to win this tournament, and we'll talk about the tournament, kind of what we thought here in a couple moments. But Kachi was my pick to win this tournament, and I thought he was going to win the tournament because his draw was significantly easier, in my opinion, than other players in that bracket. I didn't think he played a player that he should lose to until the finals, and then he got to win one match. So it turned out that I was wrong, and it turned out that it took probably the worst shooting pool match in the history of forever between Alex and Eklanti to really make that happen. And don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to dog on either one of them, because I mean that table is brutal, and that table can make even the best of players look silly from time to time. But Eklund was running through the entire field at that point. I mean, he had a little bit of a hiccup against Naoki Oi, and Naoki Oi dogged a 4-ball, and then Eklanti, I think he was down 3-0, or maybe even 4-1 maybe at the time, and Eklanti ended up winning the match 7-4 or 7-3, whatever it was. Naoki didn't get back to the table from there on out, and then he came out and just beat Niels Fine 7-0 and just smothered him. Niels didn't stand a chance, really.
And that to me is somewhat confusing because I look at who Niels played. I mean, he comes off a win against DeLuna and a win against Shah. I mean, He's got to be pretty happy with his play up to that point. No matter what happened, the score says he won.
He beat two real tough players.
Both of those players are good players. So
yeah, he beat two real tough players. I know that.
Yeah.
So, what can you do?
He just didn't let him to the table then, basically.
he just never really led him to the table. Never really. Niels never really got a flow going, and Niels just played, or Eklund just played super strong. So, what else you got, Rob?
Well, then the two semis, of course. Now you already explained the one that they neither one played real good, but Alex won 7-6 in that semi. But what about Joshua and Shane? That was also 7-6. And did that same thing happen there, or was that just a real scorcher?
Well, Mike, do you want to mention it?
What I watched was a back and forth match. I think either one of them could have won at any given time. Shane was playing really strong, which was kind of surprising when you consider the next match. But yeah, didn't Filler was on the hill at 6-5, wasn't he? And he just missed a ball, and Shane ran out from there.
No, Filler was on the hill 6-5, and he was jumping up and down and celebrating and kissing his wife, and then he broke and scratched. Ball shot straight into the side pocket. It didn't get kicked either; it went straight into the side pocket.
Oh no!
Yeah. So
and
you think he was one break
in this match play event?
Sorry, Rob?
Was the 9-ball racked on the spot in this?
No, one ball. One on the spot. Always one on the spot.
The one on the spot.
Yep.
So they're pretty much making a ball every time they broke.
They should be.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Making the wing ball every time, except for Jason at Hill in his match.
Yeah, unless it's Hill.
Wasn't there another, was it Shane and Joshua that Shane broke dry at Hill?
Well, Gravy and Gomez had a Hill match earlier.
I'm struggling to think. I know that Shane did not finish the rack finish the set from there. When it was 6-5, Josh breaking, he broke and scratched, and Shane got out of line twice, but still ran out of the rack. And then he was breaking on the hill. But to be honest with you, I don't remember what happened on the break. I know that Josh and Shane both got to the tables a time or two. Oh, it's a little dog.
How about, hey, he's not a cat daddy. He's a doggy daddy. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't honestly remember the what the final was with the final break was for that match, but yeah, I mean, it was at one point in time, Shane, when Josh was jumping around the table, I think we need to have a serious conversation at some point in time about the absolute disdain and how far into Shane's head Josh is. Because when you looked over at his face, when it was 6-5, he literally looked the most defeated I've ever seen a pool player in my entire life. And I think he was just dreading what was going to happen. I think that he had accepted that he was going to lose at that point. And he was so damn disgusted by it. I need to get the graphic for that and show it. I'm going to try and get Shane on the podcast at some point in time in the near future. I think that that was rough. The look on his face was rough, and I want to show him I want to get a picture of the face that he had at that time, and just ask him, what the heck is going on? What was going through your head when you were making this face? I want to see that.
Yeah, you'd like to know.
Shane had said that. Shane had said that he had lost to Joshua 9 out of the 10 times they played. Was he just exaggerating, or is that an honest to God fact?
I know in the Mosconi Cup, I think he's 1-5 against him in the Mosconi Cup. I don't know that that's true, but I think that's true. Outside of that, I know he lost to him in the World 10 ball. I'm sure there's plenty of other events that he's lost to him. So at least by my count, I can come up with 6-1 in favor of Josh.
Wow.
The other match I'm just curious about too was a beginning match with Billy and Sky.
Sky just outshot him.
7-1 in that match.
Yeah, Sky just outshot him. Sky played near flawless.
Okay, so you're saying then that Billy made some mistakes. I'm playing.
Billy never really had many chances to make mistakes. Sky just plain out outshot him.
Okay, broke and ran.
Yeah, block up safeties, stuff like that. Billy.
Okay.
Billy would have been doing some pretty crazy stuff to have a chance in that match.
Okay, he just took control of the match then and never
Yeah.
gave it up.
And never gave it up. Yeah. That's pretty much it. Well, let's I guess let's talk about of
What
course we
about
haven't even
Maestro
given the
No, I mean you're a fan of Bertucci. Like about him in the past, Nate.
Mieszko. Yeah, Mieszko's a really, really, really nice guy. I like Mieszko.
Right, and it looks like he beat Christina, and then
Max played really well against him in the second round.
okay, and 7-5. Then Max got him. But
Yeah.
did you watch that match? Was that a tight match or?
Yeah, Mieszko could and maybe should have. Well, he could have won that match. He had opportunities that he let go of.
Because
But-
I was thinking of a Shane versus Bertucci would have been, kind of like a more upbeat match than.
Well, I'll tell you what, Max is a great player. Max is
Yeah.
a really strong player.
Where's Max from? Austria?
Austria, yeah.
Yeah.
He's kind of on the outside looking in just because of the World Cup of Pool and having Mario here and Albin Ocean. But I'm telling you what, I don't know that he's too far behind either Albin or Mario here at this point. I mean, he's right there.
Okay.
He's a really strong player.
Okay. And this was all invitational. Is that correct? All these
Yes,
players, they got invited to play in this?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. So I guess let's talk about the actual finish of it because we haven't really done that. We've hinted a little bit. Shane Van Boden gets whitewashed in the finals by Alex Kazakis 9-0. That's obviously about as big of a surprise as you could possibly come up with for this entire thing. I mean, you could see us wins and not really a huge upset, but 9-0, I mean, that you can't come up with a more, like if you'd have just pulled the world and said, if these two play a race to 9, what do you think the score is? Probably the lowest one is going to be 9-0 in favor of Alex, right? So I think that's the biggest surprise. But, when you look at the way he played in the finals, not only did he play really well, he got every role in the book. I mean, Shane was coming up to the table with tough shots, and they weren't even like tough shots in a sense of like, hey, do I want to take the shot on or do I want to play a safety? He comes to the table with opportunities that are like, there's no real safety that can be played that is going to get you a realistic chance of bettering your fortune in the racks. He kind of gets to the table, and he didn't get to the table much, but he gets to the table when he's got like these super weird shots that like you just have to take on because there's no real safety available. And, the pot is only, 35, 50% at best, but there's just no other option because there's no good safety to be played. And he made a couple of them. And then he dogged a very, very easy 6-ball. I'm sure that's probably going to haunt him. And he dogged a 4-ball too after Alex missed I think it was a 5-ball. After Alex missed a tricky 5-ball, but it's one he's supposed to make. And then Shane gets right back up there and misses the same exact shot, kind of in the same way, but an easier version of what Alex had just missed. And then Alex runs out again. So that's really the match, is Shane dogging 2 racks. And then Alex just, he broke and ran 4, maybe 5 racks, and that was the match. I mean, Alex played really well, got all the rolls, and Shane struggled just a little bit. And, these players, if you're going to come into a match playing well, you don't need all the rolls in the world to be able to make it work for you. You just need enough to keep yourself flowing. So I think that's kind of what the story of the finals was to me. Third, fourth, of course, is single elimination, so those are a tied. Goes to Eklanti Kachi and Joshua Filler. 5th through 8th goes to Dennis Grabe, losing to Josh Filler. Max Leshner losing to Shane Van Boning. Niels Fine losing to Eklanti Kachi. And Sky Woodward losing to Alex Kazakis. And then we'll go back to 9th through 12th. We had David Al-Qaidi losing to Sky Woodward. Justin Senjid losing to Alex Kazakis. Naoki Oi losing to Eklanti Kachi. We had Jason Shaw losing to Niels Fine. Fedor Gorsh losing to Shane Van Boning. Mieszko Forshunsky losing to Max Leshner. Chris Melling losing to Joshua Filler. And Albin Ocean losing to Dennis Grabe. So that is the I guess that is the placing of everybody. It was, I guess, talking about the event as a whole. Let's, Mike, do you want to start? You want to take that on first? Is what you thought of the event?
Well, I wanted to jump in before we got too deeply into that.
Go ahead.
It feels like it's easy to mischaracterize the finals as Alex got all the roles and Shane was a little off. Alex played great. I mean, he deserved, yes, he got a few roles, and he got more roles than Shane. But I think if you take those roles out of it, Alex still wins that match. You know, you watching it and knowing what has happened to Alex in the past, you kept thinking, okay, when's it going to happen? You know it's going to happen. Alex is going to dog something big here, and it's going to be because he's moving on a shot, or his head moved, or his shoulders moved, or something like that, because this is what he has done so many times in the past, and he didn't do that. You know, maybe there were once or twice where it felt like he was starting to do that, but he pulled himself out of it. Didn't they say something during the match that Kelly Fisher had kind of taken him aside before the match and told him, you know, this is your time and you're capable. And then he also said he spoke to his coach. Whatever he did, he deserved this win. He may not have won at 9-0 without the rolls, but he deserved the win the whole way.
Yep, I agree. Yeah, so I want to say it was Phil Yates said something about how I'll guarantee you Alex is on the practice table getting ready. And what we ended up finding out before the event, or right after the match started, was he didn't. He actually went back to his hotel room, and during which that time he got a little bit of a pep talk from Kelly Fisher, basically saying, you know, stay in the moment, keep yourself here, keep yourself grounded, do the things you need to do, trust the process. I didn't hear the coach statement, but you know, that maybe that I didn't know Alex had a coach, but maybe I didn't hear that, basically is what I'm saying. And it could be true. I just have no idea on that one. I know that Kelly did talk to him though. And I think it actually might even be interesting, maybe bring Kelly on and ask her what she actually said to him in the moment. I think that'd be an interesting conversation. Maybe I'm hoping to bring Alex on in the next few days, or at least the next week or something like that, to the podcast to talk to him. So, you know, maybe that's a thing that we can do, and we can ask him what she was actually said to him and what that time in between the semifinals and finals, what he did with his time. But yeah, I would say taking nothing away from Alex deserved it. I agree with you 100%. Alex deserved this match. He worked hard. He got back. He grinded. He didn't play well the entire event. In fact, I would say if you just look at all of his matches from start to finish, he actually played pretty poorly. I mean, Sky kind of Sky had a stomach bug apparently. He ate something that didn't sit well with him. He barely made it through the match with Alex. It sounds like he was not doing well. So he got a little bit of a pass there. I mean, Eglantey Kotche, whatever you want to say about that match, I mean, it was bad between the two players. It was really, really bad. There was dozens of missed balls. There was one game where there were 6 innings from the 4-ball on. So both players got to the table 6 times in a professional match before somebody won it. I mean, that's not all just because of a great safety battle. I mean, there was probably 4 missed balls by each player in that. It was a match that was really, really, really struggle. It was a grind, but he won. You know, he won the match. He grinded through. Justin Sanshid, he was up, I believe, 3-0, and he missed a pretty easy 9-ball. I mean, I'm talking like the cue ball is a foot away from it, just a slightly off straight in. 9-ball into the corner, and Justin missed it. And then Alex won 7 straight to win 7-3. I mean, he caught a gear at that point, but Justin goes up 4-0 there, breaking the balls. Alex might be out. I mean, Alex might be out of this event at that point in time, but Justin missed the ball. Alex took advantage, got out. Sky Woodward had the stomach bug. Alex took advantage, got out. Eglantey Kotche struggled like crazy. Alex took advantage, got out. And then he just ran over Shane in the finals. He absolutely played not his best game, but he played his best game when he needed to play his best game. And that's the mark of a true champion, I think. grind through the struggles and coast through the winning.
Well, you said 2 words 6 times in the last minute, and they took advantage. Those 2 words.
Yeah.
And when you see anybody win at this game, guess what they've done? That's exactly what they've done throughout the tournament. Not just one match, which I'm sure they have done one match also, but throughout the tournament, it's pretty consistent. When somebody said, yeah, I really took advantage of that mistake that guy made. I took advantage of it. I was talking with April Larson for a few minutes this last weekend when she was at a tournament. And that's exactly what we talked about, was this ability to when it presents itself. And this could be any level player. It doesn't have to be these world champions. If you're striving to be that good, you best wake up and take advantage when those mistakes happen.
Yeah.
Even at Fargo 400 players, you can still, you're going to have a chance to take advantage. That's pretty darn important. And you had mentioned that so many times there because it happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how many times do you see somebody win a tournament and there's that one match where they can look back and say, I didn't deserve to win that one, but I did. And then once they were past that, it was all downhill.
A lot.
Just about every one. I mean, very, very, very few people play flawless.
I got by that one I shouldn't have. That player usually beats me. Guess what? He made 2 mistakes instead of 1.
Look at the second U.S. Open for Mika Immonen, right? I mean, he lost his first match and then won 75 straight matches and ended up snapping off back-to-back U.S. Opens.
Right? That's something in this format where it's single elimination. It does eliminate the possibility of that great player from the loser side who went into that loser side early due to whatever reason. And now they've played twice as many matches as that guy who's been sitting for 3 hours on the winner's side. And they get to the table, and how many times you see that double dip in that double elimination tournament? Often. It happens often.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in this format, it wasn't there.
Well, I want to talk about that later on, Rob.
On the loser side coming through, there wasn't one.
Yeah, I want to talk about that in a little bit, but let's come back to that later on because it's part of the things I want to talk about a little bit later on. So then, what's your takeaway from the events, Mike?
It seemed to run smoother than World Cup. World Cup had some issues, and it seems silly to even comment along the lines that Matchroom is working out any glitches because I don't think any of them were glitches. But I love the format. I love the short races. They're short enough that every miss is important, but they're not so short that you can't miss once or twice. I mean, sure, Shane missed twice against Alex, but Alex is a monster. What are you going to do? So, but yeah, I love the format. I love the races. The little extended race at the end, I think that's good. I like the format a lot. And as a member of the media, I was excited when the tournament was over, thinking this is just such a great story. If Shane wins another one, it's like, okay, great. Let's see, what's the story? Shane's been fishing for the last year and he won another big tournament. Okay. But Alex winning this and the way he won it, and even to go back an extra match and look at the match with Kachi and then to see how he won the finals, it's a great story. You want the next great pool movie, you could do something fun with this story.
Absolutely. It's poetic. He's up 5-0 the year prior in a race to 9. So he's over half the way there and then gets back to Hill and he's watching the break and David Al-Qaeda flukes a ball, basically a fluke carom. I mean, he was trying to make the shot, but he missed it so bad he caromed it off another ball and hooks himself and sells out the rack for Alex, and he doesn't get out. And the way that he doesn't get out, I mean, if you haven't seen it before, Google it. The World Pool Masters, David Al-Qaeda, Alex Kazakis finals. You cannot create a situation that's more heartbreaking than what Alex endured, not the year prior, because of course the World Pool Masters was canceled last year, but 2 years prior, the last iteration of this.
Right.
It's just heartbreaking what happened to him, and to have it come back, like, it's almost like a Hollywood script. Like, if I was watching this in a movie, I'd be like, yeah, that's great. That's a movie. That doesn't happen in real life, right? But it did, right? And that's to go along with your statement. I mean, it's crazy that actually worked out that way. Rob, did you have something to say?
I'm a fan today. That's my mission here.
You're a fan.
You guys are informing me as a fan, and could be number one fan.
You are number one fan.
Could be. And so that's
so
my,
Rob,
that's my job today.
So Rob, you didn't see that amazing shot that took place? I think it was on day 2. I mean, Nate, you know exactly which one I'm talking about. But Rob, you haven't seen that yet?
No, I have. I have. After the Sky Dennis thing, that's more pool than I've watched in my life. Okay, the Sky Dennis thing, and it blew my marbles. They went all haywire, and I tried. I actually tried to watch some pool, and I was having a hard time doing that. It just and not that Sky Dennis match was distasteful in any way. It wasn't. I mean, it was wonderful. I enjoyed every single rack I watched. Seriously. But it was kind of like, it was more than, my head would accept at one time.
So I guess getting kind of.
Tell me about the shot.
Yep. Getting back to.
There's no shot. I'm just giving you a hard time.
Yeah, he's just messing with you. Yeah. So getting back to, I guess, the overall view of the tournament, I agree with what you said. There are things that Matchroom is still working out. Absolutely. I think that there was plenty of mistakes that they made during the World Cup of Pool that could be pointed out. Of course, whatever happened with and even going, and let's even go back to the Championship League pool. Let's go back to there. The days were way too long, right? They had to enact a shot clock. They did that halfway through the event, and they fixed it. I'm trying to think back to any other mistakes that were made during that. I can't think of any big ones, but the World Cup of Pool, the timer, I mean, the shot clock. I mean, you can't have a professional event where the shot clock fails. I don't know what the reason was that it failed. As somebody who does a lot of things in the industry as far as tech goes, I know how finicky things can be, and tiny little things make the biggest difference in the world. I mean, it absolutely, it's hard to keep everything in line, but that doesn't change the fact that it was a mistake. Another mistake that I think that they made during the World Cup of Pool was having the players mic'd up was amazing. It was awesome, but you can't have that water. You got to have water bottles if you're going to do that. And they're over here like pouring water, and it just sounds like it's just like the worst sound in the world. People pouring water into those cups with the live mic, and it's going over top of Carl, and it's going over top of Phil in the booth talking about the matches. It's so hard to actually hear what's going on. Notice for this one, they had water bottles. I don't know if they got that feedback. They had to have gotten that feedback, I would assume. But if you look at where they were at with the Championship League pool, they enacted the shot clock on day 3. Great. They're willing to adapt. They're willing to do things to change along the way to make things work smoothly. The World Cup of Pool. My 2 gripes about it was, of course, the score or the shot clock, and then 2 is the water bottles. There was no problems with the shot clock, and there was no problems with the water bottles. The players had 4 or 5 water bottles, whatever it was, at their desk when they got there, and they were using those. There was nothing there that I could complain about. Everything about this event was amazing, and what it shows is, even the best companies are going to make mistakes. Matchroom still made mistakes, but they're willing to learn and they're willing to incorporate the changes necessary to make the events go smoothly. I think I want to have this discussion in a little bit, so I won't bring it up now. But I mean, my takeaway from the event is Matchroom nailed it. And Matchroom absolutely nailed it. I cannot look at this event and have any sort of complaints besides the normal idiot pool player complaints where, why are we playing a race of 7 winner breaks? You know, you can have people that run out the rack, and there's the reason this is a race of 7. No, they didn't. But the point is the reason that this is a race to 7 is it's not because 7 is a nice number that, you know, somebody threw it at a dartboard and it was a 7, right? I mean, there are major decisions that go into this, and it has to do with TV. Everything is TV. So what is good about a race to 7? Well, the average race to 7 time is about an hour, right?
Right.
This is being built for TV to make your opinion that race to 7 is too short for professional pool players and you're not really getting the better player or whatever. It doesn't matter. The point is this isn't really being built to find out who the best pool player is. It's built to have drama all the way through. No lead is safe. I don't care if it's 6-0 and winner break 9 ball. No. Not a single lead is safe with winner break. It's exciting all the way through. Like you said, you can miss a ball. You might even be able to miss 2 balls, but you can't spend 20 minutes dogging balls like crazy and have a chance. So there's drama all the way through it. There is, and it's the perfect amount of time for a 1-hour segment of TV. That is exactly why it's a race to 7. If the speed of play somehow sped up to, I don't know, let's just say it sped up 15%, I'll guarantee you they'll probably change the race to 9. Not because the pace of play is faster, but because they need to fill a 1-hour timestamp. And that's about what it takes a race to 7 between these two players. Everything's being built for pools. So to go on to a forum and say, well, Matchroom doesn't care about who's the actual better player because, you know, they're only doing a race to 7 winner. Well, they're not here to find out who the best pool player is. They're here to put on a production to try to draw fans in that are outside the industry as well as inside the industry and make this game exciting. That's pretty much done 1 hour at a time with short and fast and exciting matches. So, I mean, I guess going back to what I was saying is like, I would love to see a race to 9. I would love to see a race to 11. I'd love to see a race to 13. But that doesn't work in pool. It might work in snooker, but it works in snooker because there's already a fan base of hundreds of thousand people that are watching these matches in these tournaments. That's not happening in pool. So we need to build the excitement of this game, and that's done race to 7 at a time. So it won't be changed ever. Is really what it comes down to, I don't think. What do you think about that, Mike and or Rob?
When you say that, it jumps out at me that I was looking over the format for the World Pool Championship that is coming right up. That's going to be races to 9 in the groups, and then it's going to races to 11 in the last 64. So, you know, for the people who complain and say, well, it's not a true representation, you know, we're going to get a better representation in the World Pool Championship, and rightly so. That's a world championship. That's different than this event. Right. Yeah. Right. That determines a world champion. And that's you know, the World Pool Masters was a major title, but the World Pool Championship is something that, you know, some people just, you know, they never accomplish in their entire lives. And it's huge. I mean, look at Shane. Shane's never won a world championship. There's no question that he's a Hall of Fame player. There's no question that he's the best that America has to offer right now, but he's never won a world championship. And that tournament will be determined with longer races. But you're absolutely right. You know, this World Pool Masters is an event that Matchroom puts on. It's all about getting those matches together for television. And you know, they added 100,000 in prize money to this, and Lord knows how much they spent on production. That money has to come from somewhere. It's not just Barry writing a check. It has to come in from this television. And, you know, like you go back to the World Cup and people were complaining, well, why are all these other countries represented? Well, because that means television in those countries. And you have a team from Botswana that's because you're selling that video to television in Botswana. You've got to remember that this is not. Well, I got my pool room to add 100,000, and I'm going to run this tournament that's a race to 11 for everybody. You got to understand big picture.
Yep, I agree. Rob, anything?
I am a fan of short races, except of course, like what you said, for major world.
Yeah, the U.S. Open
title.
should never be a race to 7. I don't think.
And double elimination in a major world title, also. But I do like short races for just the same reason Mike gave. That
I'm even
even a minor mistake can cost you that match in a race to 7. Usually, I know when I played competitive pocket pool, I would say to myself before the match, no matter who I'm playing, the best, highest rated player there, or the middle of the road player, I would going in, well, I can afford to make 2 mistakes and still win this match. And that would be even against the best players there, because we played alternate breaks mostly. So I would say that, hey, I'm not going to beat myself up if I make a mistake or 2. Well, if I made that 3rd mistake in a match, I wouldn't beat myself up over it, but that would open the door for 1 too many mistakes. And those our races in the tournaments I played were 7, most of the races, and some of the other local tournaments are 5. But I do like that. I love our little local tournaments, races to 2. I love them.
Yeah, it's a little bit short, but
first match, every single
there's a time for it.
Trying to watch out, trying to run out of an impossible rack, just so the pressure is on me that I have to win 2.
Yeah. I just want to address one thing that you said. I'm even okay with the tournaments going away from double elimination. I'm even okay with that. I mean, in what other sport in the world do you see a double elimination in? Certainly any successful one. There aren't any, right?
Not too many that I know of.
Right.
So is this like a pool thing, saying, all right, well, we as pool players, clearly we're smarter than the rest of the world. We know what we're doing. Let's do a double elimination because clearly that's what people want to see. Or is it, kind of pool players being pool players and be like, all right, well, this is the way we've always done it. Let's just keep doing it this way because, that's just the way we've always done it. I don't think the average consumer of television, not talking pool, television, understands a double elimination tournament enough to get hooked on one that's just scrolling through the telly, right? I don't think that the average consumer of television understands well enough a double elimination event enough to want to get. And if you can't understand the format, how are you going to want to watch the match to begin with, right?
Yeah, I've noticed in recent years they've eliminated the finals to be just one match, no matter if you come from the loser's side or not.
Well, that's what they did for the U.S. Open.
Common, no.
That's what they did for the U.S. Open this year, right? And I got no problem with them doing that going forward. I think that's a good idea. I don't
mind that at all.
Yeah, I think it kind of gets away from the integrity of the way that we know pool as pool consumers. But what it does is it starts building the future of pool outside of us, the people who are going to watch pool regardless. It makes the product more consumable to the outside world who potentially could get interested in the game.
Yeah, and the single elimination has an advantage. Of course, time-wise, it's huge advantage. But the other advantage is you can't go into a match thinking, "Oh, I can lose this. I'll be okay." No.
Yeah, I mean,
okay.
Yeah, there is something too.
You're going.
There is something too. Win or go home, right? I like that. I think that's good.
Right.
So, Mike, what anything else to touch on for that?
As a tournament director, when I've ran events in the past, I hate an extended race in the finals. It was just, I always ran true double. But yeah, in a major event like this, true double is just crazy. I mean, can you imagine Alex and Shane having to play another race to 7? And there was talk, there's been talk in the past
explaining to the person who's this is the first time they've ever watched a pool event in their entire life, and having to have Carl Boyce sit on there explaining what a double dip is and how it works and why they're doing it now and why they're not going to do it in the next event. Or, can you imagine the headache that would cause in the commentators to try to explain that in layman's terms to the viewer?
Yeah.
I wonder where tennis would be today if the tournaments were double elimination. It probably wouldn't be as big a deal as it is.
Is honestly pool the only sport that does that?
It's the only sport that I know of. I know wrestling. Wrestling does it also, at least at the high school level. I think at the college level it does too. But it's not a double elimination, like a true double elimination. It's like a very double elimination. So, like if you lose the opening round, you can wrestle back to get, if there's 16 people, you can wrestle back to get like 9th place. And if you lose your second match, you can wrestle back to get like 8th place. Stuff like that. It's like weird things, but it's not a true double elimination.
The tournament you're going to, Nate, now coming up in Vegas, that's triple elimination.
Yeah, but that's different. I don't care what happens on a regional level, because the average consumer isn't watching the regional level.
Right.
For the biggest events that we have going for our sport and the biggest representations of where our sport is as an actual sport, I think that you got to have them this way. You got to have them overly simplified, easily consumable, and it's got to be exciting. It's got to be short and it's got to be exciting, and it's got to be easy to consume to people who don't, that might piss off a lot of people that are hardcore pool fans, but we don't, I say we, Matchroom doesn't care about you, right? We already have you. I'm not trying to say this is Matchroom like crapping on you. We already have you, right? We're trying to expand and grow this. They are trying to grow and expand this game. They're trying to make more avid pool fans. You can nitpick on them all you want because they're not doing it the most traditional way, but they're not trying to get you. They don't care about making you happy. They care about growing the game, and they know the best way to grow the game. They're not growing the game through getting more of you. They're getting the game by introducing more people into the game, right? That's what they're trying to do. So the people that nitpick at them saying, well, you're not running this should be a race to 9, or it should be a race to 11, or, it should be 9 on the spot, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. They're not trying to reach the people who are criticizing them. They're trying to reach the people who have never watched a pool match in their life and didn't know that Alex Kazakis dogged it last year in the finals, and holy crap, that's what happened. Well, now I have to check out this match because that's amazing. What's going to happen this year? Is he going to dog it again? Oh, cool. Let's sit in and watch the next hour of this match. Next thing you know, there's one more consumer to this game, or there at least one more person that's interested in it. The hardcore fan is there no matter what. They already know the story. They already know what it's like, and they're going to consume it regardless.
I've got a question for
Absolutely.
both you guys, and see how I'm curious how you answer this. I'll find myself, if I'm watching, say, 2 great players play, world champion players. In the back of my mind, while I'm watching them play, I'm actually hoping one of them will make a mistake. I'm wondering what it's going to be, what kind of mistake it's going to be. They're going to jump up. They're going to short stroke it. They're going to punch it instead of smooth it. What are they going to do for that mistake? And I'm sitting back there kind of wanting that to happen so I can have it I can grab a hold of it. If I'm watching a couple of semi-pros around, maybe not 800 Fargo, but 680, say 670, 700, something in there. Well, yes, there you go, Nate. You're an example of that. I sit back and I watch that match, and I am rooting for them not to make a mistake. Now, why is that? And that's just me. I'm going, and it's how I feel while I'm watching it. I'm going, oh, I hope they don't make a mistake here. I don't want them to. When I'm watching these 2 great players, I'm thinking, well, I kind of want this guy to screw up here.
Well, you want drama, right? That's the point of a race to 7.
That could be it. I don't know. I'm asking.
Yeah, I mean that's as a consumer. That's why a lot of people don't really like a race to 100 because there is no drama. You could dog the first 70 shots that you shoot at in a race to 100 and still win the race to 100 because the race is so long. So there's no drama. It's just like, oh, all right, well he missed another ball, or oh, all right, he just ran out of another rack, or oh, all right, he just played safe. Like nothing really matters until the last 20 racks, and that's really only if the last 20 racks if the score is tight.
Yeah, and I didn't feel that way with the Dennis and Sky match though, and I watched almost every rack, and I think that's
yeah.
God, I hope he misses this shot.
But I think that's a testament to their playing styles. I think that's a testament to the playing styles because they're so exciting as is, right?
Oh, because
drama creates interest because it's exciting, right? If you already have the excitement,
the racks were fat.
What are you really longing for?
Yeah, I'll accept that.
And anybody who watched that match, they knew what they were watching. They knew what the money was behind it, and it was a completely different audience.
Yeah.
Okay. Sure.
I agree with that.
Sure. That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would say if there's anything else, I want to talk about the table a little bit because I thought the table for this was perfect. Just slightly under 4-inch pockets. They were shimmed down pretty nicely, and I thought the table was perfect. What do you guys think of that?
Did I hear correctly that they swapped out the playing table with the practice table right before they got started?
That I don't know. I didn't hear that. So I don't know if it's true or not.
Yeah.
I just haven't heard it.
I heard somewhere, or I saw it online, that the practice table was slightly smaller than 4 inches, and the playing table was 4 inches. And there was a decision made right before the event got started to swap the tables out. And the table played tough. When you see the best in the world missing some of the shots that they missed, I mean, you think back to the shot that Jason Shaw missed against Nils. It was a challenge. That I'm with you. That table, I think that's the right size pocket. I'll be curious to see how the Predator table plays here in a week or so.
Yeah, I think that's we'll see. I guess that's I think with that table, I think it always, there is no such thing as taking a shot for granted. We saw some really, really easy missed 9 balls, 8 balls deep into racks, and it's because you can't take anything for granted on that table. I mean, the standard ball is 2 3/4 inches, right? 2 3/4 is the standard aramith.
2 1/4.
It's 2 1/4. So you have about,
I think 2 1/4 for a billiard ball, 2 1/8 for a pool ball.
Is that right?
Yeah.
That sounds right.
Too.
Yeah, that sounds right. So basically, you have about 1 1/4 balls, 1.5 balls, something like that. That's there's not a lot of wiggle room on either side, and the table will play a little bit more forgiving in the beginning because of that slidey cloth. But towards the end of that event, there's not going to be a lot of sliding on those tables, so you got to hit the pockets. I think I don't want to see that on a Mosconi Cup table. That's way too small for a Mosconi Cup table. One, because the Europeans are going to torch us if that's the size of the pockets, because their worst player is still an 800 level Fargo player, and our worst player is 100 points lower than that almost. So I mean, we're already giving up a ton of talent as far as just the 1 through 5. You can't throw. I just don't like the idea of throwing a 750 or a 760 Fargo into the fire of 1,500 screaming fans on that tight of equipment. I think that the Mosconi Cup, I think that needs to be bigger pockets, 4.5 probably. What do you guys think about that?
People need to remember, Mosconi Cup is not a tournament. Mosconi Cup is there for entertainment.
It's an exhibition.
Right.
It's a very competitive exhibition.
Right. But it's not a tournament. You win Mosconi Cup, it's an accomplishment that you're very proud of, but it's not the same as winning World Pool Masters or certainly not a World Championship.
Right. The entertainment factor is a little higher So you do want a pocket that's not super tight. I agree with that.
Yep. That's just my thoughts on it. I guess with that, I mean, that really covers everything that I was looking to talk about. So, I mean, do either of you guys have anything?
I have one question for you guys, and this has to do with the mental aspect of pool. You hear professional athletes talk about memory and how it's advantageous to have a short memory for things. You hear golfers talk about it. The mistakes you make, you tend to need to forget them quickly. And I heard this again this weekend at the tournament I was at. And that does apply to a certain extent until you get to 3-cushion billiards. And once you get there, your memory doesn't need to be short. It needs to be accurate. Because you're dealing with remembering exactly how that shot was set up and what you did to miss it. And you need to know that on the next time you have that exact same shot. It's not a factor of, oh no, I'm going to be thinking negative now, so I don't want that in my head. No, I want to remember that because the next thought I have in my head is going to be a positive thought about what to do better with that. Where pocket pool, it seems that if that negative memory about that miscue on that 8-ball that you tried to draw back or whatever, it is something you don't need to remember. So I was kind of because I played in a 3-cushion tournament this weekend and had played in a pocket pool tournament before that, and was trying to get a grip on when do I want to forget and when do I want to remember. And that kind of hit me that between these two genre of the 3-cushion billiard versus the pocket pool, there is a difference there with that.
That is a really interesting. I never really thought about that. Is that something that you want to take on, Mike?
I don't play 3-cushion. I'm just really starting to figure out the game, and I love it. But yeah, it is an interesting concept, and I'm sure there are various reasons as to why that would be. 3-cushion, and Rob, you can answer this. Is 3-cushion more memory and memorization of this is the shot that's on here? I talked to a player here in town who is getting better and better at 3-cushion, and what he was the proudest of was watching the top players. I now know when they go to the table more times than not what the shot is, and that seems to be such a huge part of 3-cushion is knowing what shot is on, in addition to being able to actually execute it.
Yeah, that a similar situation would be, say, playing a game of 8-ball, where there's so many options. There's just you got 8 balls, you got a million different ways to run the balls. In 3-cushion, that concept is called a solution. Mazzanchuni would say, okay, I'm going to shoot this shot. The solution to getting the point on this shot is the correct solution. So you're right there in that observation that there are lots of solutions to making a point. I think there's a video of I can't remember who the player is, but he sets up a very difficult position for the 3 balls, and he makes that point 17 different ways. Yeah. And I've watched it, and it's crazy. Of course, who knows how many times he tried, But in the video, he makes it the next shot each time, but might have taken him 15 tries. Who knows? But it just goes to show that in 8-ball, there's a million ways to run that rack. And so in 3 cushion, there's usually a best solution to each shot.
Yeah.
And,
So
and
I guess
is memory. I mean, you have to have experienced it
Right.
or watched somebody who said, oh, there's 3 solutions here. And if you're watching them play, stop them and ask them, why did you pick that solution? 9 times out of 10, it's going to have to be something to do with position play or avoiding a kiss. One of those two things.
I would say so. So taking on the heart of your question, I think there's a fine line between having a short memory. So really, the question for me comes down to, what does having a short memory mean? And to me, I think the having the short memory in pool, what people mostly say it for is like, if you miss a shot, yeah, whatever, it's just a missed ball, just let it go and remember later.
Right.
But I think the heart of really what people are meaning by it is, hey, if you dog a ball, remember it, but get over it, right? You're not saying like, all right, well, let's just erase my memory for the last 15 seconds and just act like nothing ever happened. The point is try to have memory, but don't let it bother you, right? Remember your mistakes, but don't dwell on them. And I think that's kind of that's the way I would approach having a short memory in pool. Billiards, I can't talk for at all, but it makes sense that you would want to have a long memory there, because you can learn from your mistakes. You can find out that the table's playing a little bit longer than you thought or a little bit shorter than you thought, and you can adjust accordingly in the future for that. But I would say in pool, I think for me, the deciding factor is having a short memory does not mean forgetting everything that you've shot in the last hour. It's remembering that the game is hard and remembering that you're not going to play perfect all the time. Remember that you're still going to have opportunities probably going forward, and preparing yourself properly for the next inning is going to be the success that you're going to have in the future with the game. I mean, the near future. So I would say having a short memory, it's more important to just not dwell on it, but learn from it. Right. I think it's a very, very hard thing to do in the moment. In fact, for me, it's dang near impossible, because I can't let those things go. But
Jennifer Beretta has some things now on Facebook that she's doing. They're like 5-minute little help you out deals.
Yeah.
And one of the last ones was about that kind of thing. When you say words like don't, oh, I better not, or I shouldn't, or
mine is don't be an idiot.
Yeah.
That's what I say to myself. Like, if I have to, so the way that I approach this, and maybe this could help some people out there. The way that I approach scanning a table and making my decisions is I look at it not as all right, this is the right shot, now let's talk myself into it. Or I should say, a lot of people play the game like they look at a shot and then they try to think of a reason why they can't talk themselves into doing it. And I do it the complete opposite. I try to look at every shot as a new shot, and I have to talk myself into taking that shot. So I look at it as like a trial, right? So you present the evidence, and then throughout the evidence, you come to a conclusion, right? So after every single shot, it's like a new trial. And to play a shot, I have to talk myself into it. I have to give myself evidence to make that shot the shot that I play. The only way that I can play that shot is if I can give myself enough of a reason to play that shot. So every single time I'm talking myself into the shot, not talking myself out of the shot. So what I tell myself a lot of the times when I'm trying to convince myself to play a shot is, if I at any point in time think, don't be an idiot, I'll never play the shot. If that makes sense. That's how I decide. That's how I do my decision process. Yeah. Is I have to talk myself into doing a shot, and that means collecting evidence for every single individual shot. Am I going to scratch right here? What happens if I run into this ball over here? Well, how hard is the shot to begin with? Is the safety a better option? And then I take all 4 of those things, and plus dozens of others, and I talk myself into shots by giving myself enough evidence that I won't scratch in the side and I won't run into another ball and I won't miss the ball. And there isn't a safety that's better. And by the end of it, I have my conclusion based off of the evidence I gave myself. And if at any point in time, I'm talking myself into a 3-rail bank shot and the safety's right there as like a little tap, I don't have to say, don't be an idiot to that, right?
Right. And words like Jennifer was saying, words like don't and watch out. And she says those kinds of words are things your brain holds onto. And all the rest of that you were thinking goes away. And so when you get up there, then your brain is into the don't part of whatever you were thinking. Don't miscue. How many times have you said that to yourself, got up on the 8 ball and miscued? Because it's the don't that stays in your head. And I thought that was really cool when she talked about that. And something that, boy, I mean, the thousands and thousands of pool players I've heard say things like that and then get up to the table and do exactly.
And then just donkey it.
Like they just talked themselves into making a mistake or a blunder or whatever it is. And instead of that, and there's ways to get around that. There's ways to stay positive, in like, say somebody leaves you bad in pocket pool, they miss and they hook you. In one of the last tournaments I was in, instead of being forlorn now because, I'm hooked and he got lucky, and those thoughts don't belong in your head at all, I thought to myself, well, how can I make this ball now that I'm hooked? What are the different solutions available? I used some of the 3-cushion mental attitude on that shot, and I kicked the ball in 2 rails in the corner, and I made the 10 ball and won the game. And so it's can I do that every time? Of course not. I'm not going to make that shot every time, but I'm not going to think that going into it. I'm going to think, oh boy, they sure got lucky and left me bad. I mean, that's unnecessary to even think that. Just skip it and go, this is what's there. This is what I need to do to succeed in that. And so I'm trying to mesh some of the pocket pool and some of the 3-cushion things that I'm new in 3-cushion, only 4 years now. It's in my start of my 5th year in it. And there is value, tremendous value in both pocket pool and 3-cushion billiards, trying to get the feel for how they work together. And this forum helps me talk about that.
Yeah. Well, I think that was a pretty good discussion on this. I know that Mike is having some AirPod issues, and my headset's actually pretty close to dead too. So I think we'll have to wrap this discussion up right there, unless there's anything quick last second that either you want to say or talk about.
Nope.
Rob, good? All right. Well, I appreciate it, everybody. And I'll give a shout out to Eric Croft. I see you just joined into the chat. Eric Croft became a Patreon very recently, so you're going to get a second shout out on this podcast later on once I actually add the introduction to this. But appreciate you as always. And I guess with that, let's tune out for the day.
I got one thing.
All right, go ahead.
One thing, okay? Jim Telfer was complaining about pain in his neck and shoulders, putting up with some, getting older and starting to do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'm going to mention proliferation therapy one more time. And maybe when we do this another week or so down the road, I'll set aside 10 minutes to talk more about it.
Yep.
Because it is a fix. It's not a maybe.
Yeah.
Help you a little bit.
I do remember all the pain that you had in the beginning of us working together, and I haven't heard you whine since, so it must be real good for you. Yeah. All right. Well, with that, thank you everybody for tuning in. We'll talk to you real soon.
Thanks everybody. See you, Mike.
Everybody.
See you, Nate.